Dolphins coordinate hunts with echolocation. Crows memorize human faces and hold grudges for years. Elephants mourn their dead, returning to the bones of family members long after they've gone. Octopuses solve puzzles in complete darkness, alone, with a brain no bigger than a walnut. Every animal on this planet found some extraordinary way to survive. And then there's us. We tell jokes. Not just jokes, though. We laugh at funerals. We make memes about our own disasters. We sit in darkened rooms watching strangers on a screen and laugh at things that aren't even happening to real people. No other creature on Earth does this. Nothing even comes close. So the question isn't whether humans have a sense of humor. It's why. Why does your brain spend real, measurable neural energy finding things funny? What was evolution building? And of all the creatures that have ever existed on this planet, why is the only one that can appreciate a pun the same one that grieves, builds cities, and wonders why it exists? To understand any of that, we have to start with what laughter actually is. Not what you think it is, what it actually is. It is older than your species, older than your genus, older than almost anything you would recognize as human. Laughter is at least 10 million years old, possibly 16. Scientists know this because tickling-induced laughter has been documented not just in humans, but in every great ape alive today. And the last common ancestor of all great apes lived roughly that long ago. In the late 1990s, a neuroscientist named Jack Panksepp at Bowling Green State University placed a rat on its back and started tickling it. The rat didn't bite. It didn't run. It came back for more. What Panksepp's equipment picked up during those sessions were ultrasonic chirps, vocalizations at around 50 kilohertz, far above the range of human hearing. Slowed down and played back, they sounded unmistakably like laughter. The rats weren't merely tolerating the contact, they actively sought it out. Given a choice between a section of enclosure where they'd been tickled and one where they hadn't, they reliably chose the tickled side. Rats, laughing and wanting more. Great apes do something similar. Chimpanzees, bonobos, gorillas, orangutans. During play, they produce a breathy, panting vocalization that researchers call pant-laughter. It surfaces during wrestling, chasing, and tumbling. The lips pull back, the breathing turns rhythmic. It is joyful in a way that needs no translation. Its message has been the same for millions of years. This is safe. This is play. This is still us. For tens of millions of years, that was all laughter was. A signal between bodies. No setup, no punchline, just a code that said no threat here. And it worked. But at some point, humans did something no other animal managed. We cut the wire between laughter and touch. We stopped needing to be wrestled to the ground or physically overpowered to trigger the same ancient response. We learned to do it with nothing but language, timing, and the space between what someone expected and what they got. Every major theory of humor is trying to explain exactly this. How a bodily safety signal got rewired into something cognitive. The oldest account comes from Kant. In 1790, in the Critique of Judgment, he described laughter as arising from the sudden transformation of a strained expectation into nothing. You build a pattern. The listener leans in. Then the punchline removes the floor. The setup is a promise. The punchline is a broken one. And for reasons the brain cannot fully explain, the betrayal feels like relief. This is incongruity theory. It remains the most durable account of why jokes work. But incongruity alone doesn't explain when something stops being funny and starts being threatening. Betrayed expectations can terrify. They can enrage. They can simply confuse. Something has to make the violation feel safe. In 2010, psychologists Peter McGraw and Caleb Warren at the University of Colorado published what they called the benign violation theory. Something is funny when it is simultaneously wrong and okay. A pratfall is funny if no one is seriously hurt. A pun is funny because language breaks its own rules without consequence. The moment the violation becomes real, when someone is genuinely injured, or the joke cuts past a point of safety, the laughter stops. Or it should. Both theories depend on a cognitive capacity they rarely name directly. Theory of mind. To find something funny, you have to model another person's mental state. You have to hold their expectations inside your own head, predict what they thought was coming, and register the precise moment their model breaks. Babies laugh before they can speak, at a funny face, at peekaboo, at physical surprise. But they don't appreciate wordplay until they're old enough to understand what someone else expected the words to mean. The physical signal comes first. The cognitive version comes years later. And in the entire animal kingdom, only our lineage ever made the jump. That gap is not just social, it is cognitive. The capacity for humor is, at its core, a form of empathy. You cannot find something funny without first understanding what someone else believed. But here is what neither theory fully accounts for. Most of the laughter you produce today has nothing to do with jokes. Researchers who study laughter in natural settings, cafeterias, hallways, ordinary conversation, consistently find the same thing. The vast majority of human laughter follows remarks that that are only mildly amusing or not formally amusing at all. The most common trigger for laughter across dozens of studies is not a punchline, it is a statement of agreement. You laugh at, "I know," right? You laugh when a friend finishes a sentence you predicted. You laugh at a look, a pause, the gap between what was said and what was meant. Most of your laughter is not a response to comedy. It is a social behavior that has learned to wear comedy's clothes. Robin Dunbar at Oxford has spent years mapping this. His research, published in the Philosophical Transactions of the Royal Society B, suggests that laughter triggers the release of endorphins, the same neurochemical that bonds primate groups through physical grooming. The problem with grooming as a social technology is that it doesn't scale. A chimpanzee can groom one companion at a time. It is slow, intimate, one-to-one. A human community cannot hold together that way. Dunbar's argument is that laughter solved this problem. It is grooming at a distance. Because laughter is contagious, a shared moment of it spreads an endorphin response through an entire group simultaneously, something no amount of individual touch can replicate. Your sense of humor, underneath all the wordplay and timing, is social infrastructure. It is how your species holds itself together. Think about what that means for the last time something made you laugh. Your brain performed a rapid, largely unconscious act of social calibration. It compared the world as expected to the world as it appeared, judged the gap safe, and released a small chemical reward for arriving at the same conclusion as the people around you. What you find funny is not an idle preference. It is a map. It tells you, and everyone watching, exactly where you stand, who you trust, and what you believe the world is allowed to do. This is why finding something funny and feeling guilty about it aren't opposites. They are the same moment from two different angles. The laugh came first because part of you assessed the violation as benign. The guilt came second because another part disagreed. That conflict is not hypocrisy. It is your social brain doing its job in public, calibrating threat, assessing safety, updating in real time, and then presenting you with the receipt. The rat in Panksepp's lab couldn't do any of this. It laughed because it was touched. It had no idea what the laugh said about it. You do. And you can't stop knowing. And the gap keeps widening, because humans didn't stop at incongruity, or social bonding, or puns. We developed irony, absurdism, self-deprecation. We learned to find things funny precisely because they are terrible. Gallows humor appears in every culture that has ever faced prolonged catastrophe. Soldiers in trenches who named their misery with dark humor and kept going anyway. Surgeons mid-operation who joke about what they're cutting, not to make light of it, but to stay present inside it. People sitting with someone they love who is dying, who can't help laughing at something the dying person says. The joke doesn't make the situation less real. It makes it survivable. It is the mind finding the one mechanism it has that can hold the weight of something unbearable and stay standing while holding it. No evolutionary model cleanly explains this. The benign violation theory runs out of road at the door of real suffering. What we are doing when we laugh at our own grief is not finding it benign. We are refusing to let it be only that. We are insisting, against all available evidence, that we are still here, still in the group, still paying attention. Come back to where we started. The dolphins, the crows, the elephants, each with a survival strategy refined over millions of years. Ours is stranger than any of them. We took an ancient bodily signal, the panting of apes at play, the high-frequency chirp of a rat that kept choosing to be tickled, and turned it into language, then into philosophy, then into the only mechanism humans have ever found that can survive genuine grief without flinching. The rat laughed because it was touched. You laugh because something in the world broke from what you expected, because you understand what that means, because you can hold someone else's assumptions in your head, and because for one brief moment, the people around you arrived at exactly the same place you did. That shared arrival is the joke. The laughter is just proof you were paying attention.